Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Flanders, Belgium in 2022 and beyond. This webinar will be presented by Marco Frank, Trade and Partnerships Manager with Visit Flanders. And of course, I'm Dan McDonald with Baxter Media, and I'll be moderating today. Please be sure to attend the full duration of the webinar today for a chance to win Belgian chocolates from Leonidas. Just before we get into things, I'd like to let our viewers know that at the end of this webinar, you'll have the chance to ask a few questions to Marco. To do so, just type them into the Q&A section of the public chat box, which is towards the right-hand side of your screen, and those questions will be answered in due time. And remember, this is a live session, so your patience is appreciated during any technical difficulties that might arise. I'll now hand things over to Marco Frank, Trade and Partnerships Manager with Visit Flanders. Welcome, Marco.
Hi, Dan. Thank you so much, and good afternoon and good morning to everybody joining us here. This is Marco, and I am actually bringing you this webinar live from Brussels. I have spent 3 weeks in this beautiful destination, Flanders, Belgium, heading back tomorrow back home. And tonight I'm still here in Brussels enjoying one highlight, the webinar. So without further ado, let's just get started. So what will be covered today is very easy and talk about the agenda. First, we'll dive in a little bit of the geography. Second, we'll talk about the core travel experiences. And 3, then, of course, the main topic today, what's new in 22. Again, for those of you who know the geography already, just please forgive me, but those who are new might appreciate that. What is Flanders? Where are we? We are the northern Dutch-speaking, and I'm going to use a Canadian terminology now, province in Belgium. So Belgium is very tiny. There's only basically 2 provinces. So it's the northern part, which is Dutch-speaking, and the southern part, which is French-speaking. All of Belgium has no national tourist office. That one got shut down in 2007. And now the 2 provinces have provincial tourist offices. So it's us, Visit Flanders, and then maybe or maybe not visit the other guys. It's totally up to you. 6 major cities in our destination: Brussels, Antwerp, Bruges, Ghent, Leuven, and Mechelen. The population of Flanders is almost 8 million, so 7.8 million inhabitants here. In terms of the size, give or take about the size of the GTA, so Greater Toronto Area. So 2 times Toronto, that's Flanders, so very small, petite. In the heart of Europe, very close to everything else in Europe. If you look at the map, you got Paris, London, Amsterdam, Cologne. All the cities are less than 2 hours away, which makes it very easy to sell us with another destination. Let's say you have a client that wants to go to Paris, by all means, beautiful city, and they're looking for an extra add-on. Bring them over, bring them up to Flanders. The train from Paris to Brussels is 1 hour, 22 minutes. Or you have a river cruiser out of Amsterdam. So instead of doing a pre and post up in Amsterdam, come on down. Spend it in Ghent, Bruges, Antwerp. The train to Antwerp is just a little bit more than an hour. And to Brussels, it's 1 hour and 50. So again, everything is very, very close. What are the core travel experiences? Well, there are our usual suspects. Good movie, by the way. So what do I mean by usual suspects? So hopefully you are familiar with our art and heritage. The great medieval cities, the Grand Place here in Brussels. I'm actually just one building behind that city hall that you see here on the left. Magnificent building. I actually got to visit it on this visit. Fantastic. What you see actually here's the flower carpet that happens every 2 years in August. Also think of Bruges, another UNESCO World Heritage City. Think of the gastronomy here. The Belgian beer culture is a UNESCO World Heritage culture. The waffles, the fries, the chocolates, the Michelin star-rated restaurants, 127 of those in the destination. And of course, a great cycling destination. Cycling for all skill and interest levels, from super easy, just pick up a rental bike in the city, cycle an hour or 2, maybe take it a little bit further, get out to the windmills, do a picnic out there, to the really hardcore professional cycling. If you have any clients, bring them over. Fashion and design, hopefully you're familiar with that as well. Specifically Antwerp, the fashion hub with the third best academy in the world. Still up to 80% of all diamonds are cut and traded in Antwerp. And then last but not least, of course, the historic WW1 sites, Flanders Fields, John McRae, where the poppies grow. So you should be hopefully familiar with those 5 core travel themes. So let's move on to the actual topic of this webinar today, what's new in 22 and beyond. So we'll take a little bit of a mixed approach here. We also look a little bit what happened in 21. You might have missed some important events or openings, but of course they will be around also in 22 and beyond. So first of all, what really stands out from the past few months are the off the beaten path experiences. You might have noticed in the opening slide on a map, I really just focused on the cities, the 6 major cities. But Flanders also offers many off the beaten path experiences. For example, the Belgian coast, the Ardennes, and Limburg. And a lot of people wanted to be away from the big cities. They wanted to go out in nature. And there's definitely something that you should know about those places. So, for example, the Belgian coast is really easy to reach. It's not far. The coast is very small. It's not very large. It's just a small stretch, but it is there. It's nice sandy beaches. It's relaxing, family friendly. You can take a leisurely walk there. As you can see, sand, no stones, no rocks where you can injure your legs, no cliffs where you can fall down. Really family friendly, and it's never really far. The Flemish Ardennes, that is the southern part of Flanders. So as you can see, it's not really that flat anymore. You've got some nice rolling hills. It's also very quiet. It's great for cycling and hiking. You got some small villages out there. Again, great to be out in nature. And again, if you wanted to go to a bigger city and experience city life, the cities are never far because, again, all of Flanders is about 2 times the Greater Toronto area. So how far can things be? They are not that far. Limburg is an area that is in the northeast of Flanders, or the northeast of Belgium, basically between Germany and Holland. It's also great nature experiences where you can go cycling through trees here, for example, go hiking, go cycle through a lake, go hot air ballooning. Again, they have an excellent infrastructure for leisure cycling, just breathe in the fresh air and then be out in nature. Definitely a great area that is often overlooked, but should definitely be on everybody's agenda. Talking about being out there in nature, what is really new are our new cycling routes. As you can see, I put a map in there. We have a number of new cycling routes. That's actually a project that started before the pandemic, but what changed the whole equation is actually the pandemic itself, because those new cycling routes that you all see were supposed to be rolled out by 2025. But guess what happened? They're all open now. We fast-tracked everything because we saw a huge demand for being out there in nature, for being out there cycling through the hills, the landscapes, cycling around the coast. The blue one that you see on the site, this is one that really stands out, the coastal route. And they all replaced the previous long-distance route that had been in place. So if you were familiar with the long-distance route, they're all now gone and replaced by those new cycling routes. They're all interconnected to a European route system, which means they do extend into Germany, they do extend into Holland, they do extend into France. So it's very easy to do a cross-country, multi-country destination cycling trip if your clients desire to do so. Talking about being out in nature, there is definitely also a new highlight that I want to bring the attention to you, which are the castles in Belgium. Castles, parks, national parks, sanctuaries. Specifically, the castles stand out because Belgium actually has one of the highest numbers per square kilometer. There's almost 3,000 castles, chateaus that are in a destination. We've not really put a lot of emphasis on them in the past. We let other European destinations take the spotlight when it comes to castles, but there are a lot of them out there. Some of them are in the city, some are out in the remote areas, some of them are museums, most are actually private homes. Out of the 3,000, 2,600 are actually private properties. Only about 400 are actually accessible to the public. Fortunately, I do not own a castle, so that's why I still, gotta do those webinars and talk to you about how great they are. And then some of them are actually hotels, so you can actually stay in those and have a great medieval vacation, also, of course, with modern amenities and modern conveniences. Great cycling and hiking out in nature, so you can go on a hiking path in the forest national parks. This is actually a image taken in a forest just south of Brussels. So again, in Brussels, you think, oh, big city, metropolitan area, absolutely correct. But then just a few kilometers south, you find like nice forest areas where you can go hiking. One opening that I wanted to bring to your attention is the Fashion Museum in Antwerp, also known as the MOMU, so Mode Museum in Dutch. The Mode Museum was actually closed for over 3 years. And if you remember in my introduction, Antwerp, the Fashion Academy is the third best in the world. And the Fashion Museum that is attached just reopened on September 4th this year. It was a very ambitious renovation. The new museum looks great. And it focuses really heavily on the artistic quality and the creative mastery of contemporary fashion. So it's not about the old traditional fashion, because there's a long history in fashion and tapestry and cloth making in Flanders that dates the way all to the Middle Ages. No, it's all about contemporary fashion. And there's actually an event going on that is centered around the Fashion Museum, and the opening still going on right now, called Mode 2.021 or 2021, depending on how you read it. And there are multiple events throughout Antwerp. And in general, it does take a very critical look at the modern fashion industry and the fast fashion, in a sense that, is that a sustainable way to engage? Is that a sustainable way to shop? Is that a sustainable way how we consume fashion? Or should fashion be more longer term, more lasting, higher quality? How do we treat the workers that produce the fashion in third world countries? Is the fashion industry supposed to be free of any guilt, or is this something that we can do all better? And what about also the runways? Do the models all look the same, or should we be more inclusive? So it's a very, very interesting focus that the Fashion Museum is taking here in that particular exhibition and the event schedule for Mode 2.021. Another museum that just opened also during the pandemic is the Enzo House in Ostend. It focuses on the life and work of James Ensor, another important painter that lived between 1860 and 1949. So his former residence is now a museum. And you can actually do, as you can see from that image in the lower right-hand corner, a self-guided walking tour of his house and the important sites in Ostend. So he is a very famous painter, well known in Belgium, probably not yet so much known in Canada, but definitely worth exploring and discovering him. And there is actually also, for example, a very important Enzo painting at a Getty Museum in Los Angeles. And I only mention it because I will be at the Getty Museum next week to open up actually a Peter Paul Rubens exhibition. Ghent St. Barbara's Cathedral, the Ghent altarpiece that you can see here in the background, probably one of the most iconic, most famous Northern Renaissance paintings. As you know, the Renaissance started in Italy and then moved north. And the Ghent altarpiece, painted by the Van Eyck brothers, is considered the first Northern Renaissance painting. It was in the 2014 Hollywood movie The Monuments Man. So if you saw that one, it's a true story that really happened at the end of World War II as Nazi Germany retreats. A lot of artwork is plundered and stolen. And they also take this painting and American GIs find it and then bring it back to Belgium. So there's now a new museum section in the cathedral that just opened up in March 2021. In addition to that, there is also an augmented reality experience available that you can book separately from visiting the painting. And the augmented reality experience takes you back to the time when the Van Eyck brothers actually painted or created a painting, and it's a really interesting experience. The big opening coming up for this year is the Royal Museum of Fine Arts in Antwerp, the KMSKA. It will reopen on the 25th of September next year. The Royal Museum of Fine Arts was founded in 1810, so it's a quite old museum. And it houses an extensive collection of sculptures and paintings. And of course, the paintings all focus on, or mostly focus on the paintings from this area here, from the Low Countries. And they all range from the 14th to the 20th century. The museum has been closed for renovation since 2011. So by the time they open up next year, it will have been closed for 11 years. So everybody's looking forward. Hopefully you will be able to bring some of your clients to that museum when it opens up. It's definitely worthwhile a visit. What is going on when it comes to winter festivals and Christmas markets? I've gotten a question a few times in the last couple of days. Are they back on? Are they happening? What's going on? So basically, most of them are back on schedule. Every city in Belgium has typically winter festivals, Christmas markets. Some of the exact procedural steps in terms of how to get in, what proof of vaccination, testing or so, how far the individual booths or stands need to be apart. All those procedural steps still are to be confirmed and to be defined, but they are definitely back on the schedule, and we definitely hope that we can run those. As you know, the pandemic is still a bit unpredictable. You plan, and then in the end, the pandemic works out a little bit differently. But definitely want to make every effort to get those winter festivals and Christmas markets actually on a schedule and make them happen. Light Festival. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the Light Festival in Ghent. So it's probably coming up too soon to book still any clients unless they are looking for some last minute itineraries. But no worries, it will happen frequently or on a regular basis going forward. So the current one had been postponed a few times already. It was supposed to take place last year. Then I moved it to spring this year, and now finally it is actually taking place from the 10th to the 14th of November. And I was just in Ghent yesterday, and I just confirmed that they were like working on some of the installments. And the Light Festival really illuminates the whole city with works by international light artists. It's the 10th anniversary of that particular festival. And then this year it will highlight the favorites from the past 10 years. All in all, there will be 32 light installations. And by light installations, it's not just this moon that you can see here on the right. And actually was in Ghent when that moon was on display, and it was magnificent. It's light in all shapes and forms. So it could be, for example, an installation where they work with fire. It could be an installation where they work with different spotlights. So anything and everything around light is part of the Light Festival. And then it can also be combined with music, with poetry, reading, dance, performing arts. So light is only one out of potential several components. And I've seen a light festival now twice, and it's definitely worth a visit. It's free of charge. There's no entry fee because the light installations are throughout the city. And the walk typically starts around 7 p.m., but you can just join whenever you want. If you want to join at 9, at 10, it goes all the way to midnight. Just do 3, 4, 5 installations or do all installations. It's totally up to you. There's also a very interesting exhibition coming up about pop art in the SMAK in Ghent. This is also an exhibition that had been postponed a few times. It's now finally on, starting at the end of this month and will run all the way to May 2022. It's a selection of 40 American and European masterpieces of pop art. For example, Andy Warhol, Ray Lichtenstein, Tom Wesselman, and Panamarenko. I personally am an absolute favorite of pop art. It's so refreshing, it's so different. So again, if you have any clients that are a little bit more into the modern art, apart from, of course, the famous Flemish masters, that is definitely an exhibition that you don't want to miss. Europa Arts Festival. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this one. This is also a festival that just started a few weeks ago, middle of October, and will run to the middle of May next year. And this time it is dedicated to trains and train travel. Why is it dedicated to trains and train travel? Because the European Commission named 2021 the year of trains and train travel as a way of sustainably traveling around a destination in Europe. Trains are definitely the way to go versus jetting from destination to destination. Do it in a sustainable way and do it with trains. And train travel has been around for a very long time. Belgium actually was the first country in continental Europe that had a train line. It actually led from Brussels to Mechelen. And again, the stress is in continental Europe. As we all know, Britain is not part of the continent. So if you include Britain, yes, they beat us by a few years, but it's the first rail line in continental Europe. It's a multidisciplinary program with over 70 different projects. And again, by multidisciplinary program, it could be performing art, it could be music, it could be film, it could be a theater, it could be cinema, it could be all different types of elements also combined together. Typically, the program, the installations, the activities can be discovered in train stations and on trains. They are primarily focused or located in Belgium, but also in neighboring countries like Germany, Holland, Luxembourg, France. So it's a Europe-wide event. There are various flower shows, again, scheduled to take place. Floralia in Ghent, Brussels, and Oldenbiesen, for example. The Ghent dates are still to be confirmed. The Brussels ones are known from the beginning of April 2nd to May 3rd, and Oldenbiesen from the 23rd to the 25th of September. So anyone into flowers, garden shows, that is definitely the place to be. Now, a very important anniversary coming up for anyone into commemorating the contribution of the Canadian military during World War One. Next year, we will have the 105th anniversary of the Battle of Passchendaele, also known as the Third Battle of Ypres. So what's going on there? There are a lot of activities, and I just tried to focus a little bit more where the Canadian involvement was important. The important thing, just up front, there will be or is a welcome back pass. So what this is, it's offered by 30 participating accommodations. So all you need to do is just book a stay in those participating accommodations, and then you get a discount booklet that will give you discounts that range anywhere from 25 to 100% in different museums, events, and sites that you can then visit at a discounted rate. There are very different special last posts scheduled throughout the year. The one on June 30th specifically focus on the Canadian military. There's also a Canadian commemoration at Crest Farm on November 10th. followed by a torch parade to Passchendaele Church. Crest Farm, that is the site of the Canadian War Memorial. At some point of time, it was actually in the running to be the main war memorial, but unfortunately, some other memorial beat us out. I guess it's okay. We'll take second place. Exhibition, there is a very interesting exhibition that I just wanted to highlight. Excuse me. Called The Great War for Civilization, World War I in the Middle East. Again, it's not specifically focused on Canada, but I thought it was a very, very interesting exhibition that's taking place in Flanders Fields Museum from March 12th to October 2nd, because World War I really had a profound impact on the world we live in today. And maybe some people don't realize that, but a lot of borders were redrawn in the Middle East, were artificially created, and we still live with the consequences today. And this is a very interesting exhibition to really learn more about it. Then the museum at the Hoge Krater, there will be an exhibition on the Menin Road. So what is the Menin Road? So the Menin Road for the Battle of Passchendaele was a very important supply line for the front. Basically, all supplies passed through Menin Road to the front troops that were battling the battle in the trenches up there. And that museum will have a special exhibit that focuses on the importance of this supply line. And then maybe looking further ahead into 2023, there will also be a project that focuses on World War I landscapes. So this is a little bit of a project that's still in the works, exactly what it will entail. But again, it's Flanders Fields wide. So there will be different activities, events all around Flanders Fields. So you can see 22 and 23, again, some important activities taking place. Also interesting to know, there are a number of new hotels. In Antwerp, Brussels, Bruges, Mechelen, there's a lot of plans, a lot of activities, and that may sound surprising. Aren't we just coming out of the pandemic? Aren't hotels just pretty much empty now? Why put up new hotels? Valid questions, but specifically in Belgium, I can tell you for our destination, we already had a lot of plans before the pandemic, and the hoteliers maybe to slow them down a little bit, but they didn't really cancel them. They moving ahead. There's a lot of new hotel space coming online. And I just wanted to highlight two of them. They're often, number one, in historic buildings and paired with lifestyle experiences. An example for the lifestyle experiences, one that's in the upper right-hand corner, which is a Sanctuary Botanique. It's in Antwerp. And the hotel is in a part of an old cloister. It's a joint project by an accomplished hotelier and a 3 Michelin star chef. And the focus on that is that's really like a sanctuary where you can rejuvenate mind, body, and soul. And basically, again, just get away from all the stress, be rejuvenated, and then become a new self. Another one that's in a historic building is the Corinthia Hotel that you see in the lower right-hand corner. That is a new hotel that is an also very historic palace that will eventually open up next year and is located in Brussels. It's will be a very high-end hotel, probably the Corinthia hotel chain, and the Brussels hotel will fit right in. In general, tourism of the future on the road to recovery. Now that you have learned a little bit what is new, the big question is, are we open? Yes, we are open to Canadian visitors. You can come. In our color coding system, Canada is right now listed as orange. So that basically means there aren't really any restrictions for you to come directly from Canada. All you need to do is complete a passenger locator form that basically just asks you about your information, phone number, email, contact details, where you're staying here, and then you're basically good to go. When it comes to COVID-19, it's important to stay up to date because rules change, the situation changes. So we have a couple of good websites, particularly the one that stands out is the one from the European Union, reopen.europa.eu. That is, so to speak, your one-stop shop for everything in Europe, the current pandemic situation, travel restrictions for all of the European countries. So instead of like hopping around, let me go to the Belgian site, let me go to the Dutch site, let me go to the French side, on the German side, everything is listed right there. Of course, in Belgium, we do have our dedicated site as well, which is www.info-coronavirus.be. And then Visit Flanders on just visitflanders.com also has a dedicated section just for the travel trade. It's very important for me to point out that we do have a strategy in the whole recovery to a sustainable tourism future. We're calling it Travel to Tomorrow. And what it actually means for us is that as a tourist office, and that might actually surprise you, the majority of the budget that we have available goes to infrastructure development. Roughly, the breakdown is 80% of the budget that we have as Visit Flanders goes to infrastructure development, and only 20% is destination promotion. So me talking to you, giving the webinars, working with Baxter, that is only 20% of the overall budget of Visit Flanders. 80% we invest in developing the destination. And our focus is definitely on quality over quantity, doing it in a sustainable way versus a mass tourist way. And this is like a whole new strategy laid out, and that we will definitely make sure that we are on this path to recovery in a sustainable way. We also do have many training opportunities available where we have training programs online that you can learn more about Flanders. We do have image libraries available where you can download images, videos, use them for your e-blasts, for your marketing. And we also do have brochures available. If you are interested, please get in contact with me. My email address is my first name, which is Marco, so MARCO .frank@visitflanders.com. And with that, I would like to thank you for your time. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to listen to me, and hopefully we can put Flanders back on your and your client's schedule for 2022 and beyond.
Thank you so much, Marco, for that excellent presentation. And I see that a few questions have been submitted already. Here's one that I can answer. Annie asks, is the webinar available after today? Yes, definitely, Annie. So we'll be backing up this webinar or adding the recording of it to Baxter Media's YouTube channel. So if you go on YouTube and search for Baxter Media, you should find our blue and white logo with a white background. Feel free to subscribe to us on there, and I'll also be emailing everyone a link to the recorded version of this webinar by tomorrow. So by no later than lunchtime tomorrow, I would think, I'll be able to email that to all of you guys. And the next question is from Debbie. And again, we'll get to as many of your questions as we can, but if there's anything we can't address, feel free to reach out to either me or Marco afterwards. Debbie asks, where do we find out the accommodations for the pass to Passchendaele?
Can you run a question by me one more time? Where can we find out the accommodations for?
Yeah, where can we find out?
Sorry, the one that has the path, the welcome back path. That is available online, and I will put that link, the accommodations, in my follow-up email. So everybody that signed up for the webinar, I will send you a follow-up email with all the links to the COVID sites, with all the links to the image library, with all the links to the brochure downloads, and also include that link to the accommodations that participate in that welcome back path.
That's great. Thanks, Marco. And someone had asked about your email address again. So I've just typed it into the chat box. It's marco.frank@visitflanders.com, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. There we go. And that was Dominique who asked about that. There you go, Dominique. It's right there in the chat box. Feel free to copy and paste. So let's see. Do you have a course? Do you have a Belgium specialist course?
So there is a Flanders specialist course, and the link will be in the follow-up email. It's a course that's broken down into different training modules, so you can just take it at your own pace. Ideally, you complete one module at a time, but it is a training module that focuses on Flanders, not all of Belgium, because again, we're the provincial tourist office of Flanders. Maybe just an interesting trivia fact that out of like how the percentage breakdown is for visitors to Belgium. So if you look at the two provinces that we have, and again, the two provinces, some of the simplistic explanation here, then 95% of North Americans, and the numbers are roughly equal for Americans and Canadians, 95 come to the Flemish part of the country, and only 5% then go to the French-speaking Walloon part of the country. And again, so the training course is focused on the Flemish part since we're the provincial tourist office for Flanders.
Oh, thanks, Marco. I think I was muted there for a few seconds. What is the best time to visit, and what's the best way to travel once there, train or car?
A very good question. Anytime is a good time to visit. There is no bad time. Of course, if you look at when visitors typically arrive, you got the shoulder seasons and then you got the summer, like the high season when everybody comes. But by no means are the shoulder seasons bad seasons. Actually, spring is my favorite season to travel to visit the destination. And even winter is great, depending on what you're trying to do. Christmas markets, winter festivals, definitely the time to come because no, there are no Christmas markets in the summer. The good thing about Christmas markets, I may just add that, unlike some other European countries, where they originated and shut down punctually just before Christmas, the one in Belgium tend to go on until just the beginning of January, typically January 6th. So there is an opportunity to visit the Christmas markets between Christmas and New Year's. It's an opportunity to go to Christmas market or winter festival at the beginning of January, so it offers a lot more flexibility. There are in fall a couple of cycling races. So if you're a cyclist, cycling aficionado, come during that time. So anytime is a good time to come. It really depends on your clients, on their preferences. And how do you get around? I would say train travel is the most sustainable. It's the most easiest way. It's the easiest way to get around. I mean, I always compare train travel in terms of frequency, not necessarily like the quality. The frequency, like riding the New York City subway. Since our office is based in New York City, I'm quite familiar with the subway in a sense. The frequency. You miss one train, well, just wait 5-10 minutes. There's another train. Almost similar in Belgium. You're in Brussels, you want to go to Antwerp, you want to go to Bruges, you missed one train, no worries, there will be another train 10, 15, 20 minutes later. So the frequency is right there. It's super easy, it's super convenient, it is quite affordable, it's not expensive, and it's the sustainable way. I'm struggling with the word at this time of the day here in Brussels, the sustainable way to travel. And you can even pair it, meaning by pairing it, take your bike on a train. A lot of people take the bikes on the train and then they cycle to work, they cycle home and just use the train in between for long distance. If you do want a car, by all means, it is possible. The infrastructure is great highways, roads, but it's the more sustainable way is actually by train.
That's great. Yeah, it doesn't sound difficult or expensive to get around. And is it easy to rent a bike for a few days?
It is. I mean, depending on what you want to do, if you want a more like city exploration or if you want to be more out in the countryside, there's different avenues. There are literally a number of rental bike places throughout the cities where you can literally just download an app, rent a bike, similar to what you might have seen across some Canadian cities with scooters that are now proliferating the cities, similar here with bikes. You just rent a bike, cycle around in a city, and then whenever you're done, you just return it. If you need slightly better bikes other than just city bikes, there are a number of bike rental places out there that will happily just, rent your bike for a few days so you can cycle out to the windmills, explore the area. And if you are adventurous enough, you can actually do the whole tour on bicycle. I actually did it, I think, 4 years ago. Flew into Brussels, then rented a bike, cycled to Ghent, from Ghent cycled to Bruges, from Bruges cycled to Antwerp, and then cycled back to Mechelen and then back to Brussels. So you can just do the whole trip on bike, no problem at all. And at that time, I wasn't even in the greatest of my shapes, because usually I do like to bike a lot, but back then it was just a regular bike trip. It was not super hard. It was super easy. It's easily done.
That's fantastic. And let's see. Is there a special travel agent rate available for entrance to castles, museums, or like a city pass?
Typically, I would say no. The city pass, it depends on the cities. They are changing them every year. Sometimes they do give you preferred rates, or sometimes I can even get some of them at a travel agent rate or discount, or even for free as part of a self-guided fan type of experience. But only if you're like a vetted, verified, travel agent. So some of them are available through some channels, but typically I would say the castles, you just pay a regular entry fee, and there is no special industry discount available.
Okay, and what are the dates of the Christmas market?
So the Christmas markets, they typically start in December and then run through January 6th. Each event is slightly different. I do have an overview of the ones that are scheduled for this winter.
Oh, nice.
If you do have a particular interest in which ones are taking place where, send me an email and I'll send that list to you.
That's great. Okay, fantastic. And again, if you guys do have additional questions, when you receive the follow-up email tomorrow afternoon, feel free to respond to me, and any questions that you guys have, I can easily forward over to Marco. And then, of course, Marco's email address is also in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. And Bonnie asks, she says, I attended the Ypres Menin gate ceremony. Is it part of the Menin Road?
So the Menin gate, what she's probably referring to is,
Right.
so what she's referring to is probably the last post. The last post happens every night at 8 p.m. And it's a very short commemoration that is about 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long. And it commemorates, the fallen soldiers, and it is actually right on Menin Road, or as it's called in Dutch, Meninstraat. Straat is the Dutch word for road, so it's right there.
Oh, nice. I think that answers your question, Bonnie. Thanks, Marco.
You're welcome.
I think we have time to get around to one more question here. Let's see. I would love to know more about your sustainability program. Is there a link you can share?
Yes, there is a link, and I will include that in my follow-up email as well. And there are dedicated websites available for the sustainability efforts. There's a separate brochure available, booklet, and I'll include that link to that separate website to the Travel to Tomorrow as well.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Marco.
You're welcome.
So that pretty much wraps things up. From all of us here at Baxter Media, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. If you happen to miss part of today's webinar, the recording will be made available tomorrow on the Baxter Media YouTube channel. And I'll also be distributing it to everyone by email tomorrow afternoon. And in terms of the prize draw, the winner will be contacted over the next few days from the list of people who were signed in for the entire time. I'd like to give a huge thank you and shout out to Marco Frank for presenting for us today. It was great having you here virtually with us.
Dan, thank you so much. And thanks everyone else for attending. Hope to see you and your clients in Flanders very soon. Thank you.
It was a pleasure, Marco. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone.